She loved him quietly, the way people love when they are afraid of losing even the smallest place in someone's life. For years, she stood beside him as a friend, a listener, a keeper of secrets, hiding her feelings behind practiced smiles and careful pauses. He spoke freely about his dreams, his disappointments, and his plans for a future that never included her. She listened, encouraged him, and told herself that being close to him in any form was better than being absent from his world entirely. They met during an ordinary phase of life, when nothing dramatic seemed to be unfolding. Conversations became habits, habits became reliance, and reliance slowly turned into something dangerously close to love, at least for her. He leaned on her during moments of loneliness, after failed relationships, and on nights when silence felt too heavy. She became his emotional shelter, a place he could return to without question or effort. Yet he never noticed the cost. Every time he mentioned another woman, every time he spoke about moving forward, she learned how to swallow disappointment with grace. She never interrupted his happiness with her truth. Silence became her way of loving him, restraint her proof of loyalty. She waited for signs, small pauses, lingering words, moments that felt almost intimate. She collected them like fragile evidence, replaying them in her mind, convincing herself they meant more than they did. Confession felt risky, and she feared that honesty would erase even the fragile bond they shared. So she stayed quiet, believing patience was strength. Meanwhile, he grew comfortable. He trusted her completely, unaware that his comfort was built on her sacrifice. He spoke openly about other possibilities, about letting go, about change. Each word pushed her further into the background of his life, yet she remained. Loving him became an act of endurance, a daily decision to prioritize his peace over her truth. She measured time through waiting. Birthdays she celebrated quietly, milestones she applauded from the sidelines. Friends warned her, gently at first, then firmly, but she defended him, insisting love did not always need recognition. Nights were the hardest, filled with unsent messages and thoughts she never voiced. With every silent compromise, she moved further away from herself, mistaking endurance for devotion and silence for love. She did not yet understand that silence, when repeated for too long, teaches others how to live without hearing you at all. Over time, things began to shift in ways she could feel but could not explain. His messages became shorter. His calls came less often. The warmth that once felt constant slowly thinned into politeness. He was still there, but not fully present. She noticed the change long before he did. He started sharing less, leaning on her only when convenient. New names entered his conversations, spoken with excitement she had never heard before. She listened, as she always had, though something inside her quietly fractured. She realized she was no longer his safe place, just a familiar one. This was the quiet shape of infidelity. No dramatic betrayal. No clear moment of wrongdoing. Just a slow redirection of emotional energy toward someone else while she remained emotionally invested. He didn't lie, he simply stopped choosing her presence. She blamed herself at first. She wondered if she had waited too long, loved too quietly, or asked for too little. She questioned every past moment, searching for the exact point where she became optional. Meanwhile, he moved forward without hesitation, unaware of the damage his emotional absence caused. She remained available, hoping consistency would bring him back. But consistency without boundaries only made her invisible. He assumed she would always be there, unchanged, unmoved, unaffected. He did not see how much effort it took for her to remain calm while being slowly replaced. The imbalance grew heavier. She carried the weight of memories alone, while he created new ones elsewhere. Conversations that once felt meaningful now felt obligatory. She was still part of his life, but no longer part of his emotional present. What hurt most was not losing him, but realizing she had never truly had him. She had loved deeply in silence, while he had learned, gradually, unconsciously, how to live without her emotional presence. And by the time she recognized it, the distance between them felt permanent. The realization did not arrive suddenly. It unfolded quietly, like understanding that dawn had already passed. She noticed how easily he went days without reaching out, how her absence no longer disrupted his routine. The truth settled slowly but firmly. She was no longer essential. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel anger. Not toward him, but toward herself. She saw how often she had minimized her needs, how she had mistaken silence for maturity and patience for love. Loving him had required her to disappear, piece by piece. She considered telling him everything. The words formed clearly in her mind, but she understood something now that she hadn't before. Confession would not change the outcome. Love offered too late becomes a burden, not a gift. Instead, she chose honesty with herself. She acknowledged the emotional infidelity, the neglect, the way she had been slowly replaced without being released. She accepted that he had not meant to hurt her, but that intention did not erase impact. Letting go was not dramatic. There were no final speeches or emotional goodbyes. There was only distance, intentional, necessary distance. She stopped being available. She stopped waiting. She stopped filling the silence he no longer noticed. In that space, she began to return to herself. The pain remained, but it no longer defined her. For the first time, she chose her own emotional safety over longing. And that choice, though painful, felt honest. Healing did not mean forgetting him. It meant understanding the story clearly, without illusion. She accepted that some loves exist only to teach, not to last. Loving him had shown her her depth, her patience, and her capacity for devotion, but also her need for boundaries. She no longer wondered what might have been. She understood now that love should not require silence to survive. It should not ask one heart to carry the entire weight of connection. He moved on fully, unaware of the lesson he had been part of. She moved forward differently, wiser, quieter, stronger. The years she spent loving him in silence were not wasted, but they were complete. In the end, she did not lose him. She found herself. And that was the ending she never expected, but deeply needed.